How's it going? My name's Bradley with Allaqcess Sports, bringing you another episode of our sleepers, studs, and stacks. And this is where we're going to talk about guys under $5,500 for your Draftkings, DFS, fantasy football lineups. The expensive guys, those high-priced guys, the Christian McCaffreys, the Justin Jeffersons of the world. Which ones do you need to pay for to get into your lineup? You cannot afford to miss your high-priced guys. And then your stacks. What quarterback, wide receiver combination can we kind of play with and create the best lineup possible? And try and answer your questions as quickly as possible. And the questions actually come to us from our TikTok lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time. And I would love to see you over there in the next one. So let's get into some of my favorite plays this week. Now, unfortunately, I know it's been a while since you've seen me in here, but we're back. We've been okay. We're still alive. We're still good. And per usual, we start at the quarterback position. Now at the top, there's a lot of quarterbacks playing tough defenses. The Lamar Jackson going up against Pittsburgh, Josh Allen against Kansas City, Jordan Love. You see the red lines. I personally think I'm not going to be picking any of these guys. I'd rather pay down a little bit at my quarterback because there's three guys that I really do like. Starting things off is Jared Goff, but I do understand that he does have a ceiling because I don't think the Jaguars can score to force the Lions to keep throwing. I expect Jared Goff to have a very good game, 2-3 touchdowns, but he should be able to accomplish that by halftime. This still is a primarily run-first team, and I would rather feature David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs rather than Jared Goff. Or for $100 cheaper, let's go for someone that has rushing upside in Bo Nix, who gets the Atlanta Falcons traveling up to Mile High, where they bring in a defense that's literally bottom 25% in the NFL. They're not very good against the pass. They're not very good against the run. We spoke all off season. People were saying they're going to be a top 10, top 15 defense, and the stats really don't back that up. At $6,200, I do like Bo Nix, who's been getting some really good games recently, and then we know exactly where his targets are going to be going. Courtland Sutton. Be honest, who is taking the bait on Russell Wilson going up against that horrible Baltimore Ravens defensive back situation? We look at the last few games. I mean, at $5,900, I wouldn't be mad if I got 24 points, 20 points. But because it's a division game, kind of a little bit of a rivalry, do we think the numbers are a little bit smaller, defensive? And lastly, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. I don't think I'm going to be playing it, but Anthony Richardson, a lot of love going up against the New York Jets, a team that's really good against the pass, but they do struggle against the run, which we know Jonathan Taylor on this team can do well. But Anthony Richardson using his legs to extend some plays, showing off that athleticism, I think can play into our advantage. Look at the games that he started earlier this year, picking up 30, 20, 50, 45 yards. Couple of fumbles, that's not what we want to see. Running backs that are under $5,500 that I think can give you 3 to 4 times your value, because that's what we shoot for every single time. Is it's $5,000. We want to get 20 points. It's obviously not feasible every single time, but if you have $50,000 for your Draftkings wallet and you get to 200 points, you're cashing every single week. Even if you got to 150, you're cashing most weeks. So 3 to 4 times our value is what we shoot for. Alexander Mattison is someone that has popped up going up against a Miami Dolphins defense. Again, Miami could score a lot in this one, so Alexander Mattison might be pulled out of the game script a little bit in running the ball, but getting targets out of the backfield, we do like to see that. Under $5,500, the most popular name you're probably hearing right now is Allaqcess, who last game, 14 carries. Sean Payton says he's going to continue to get him more and more involved. He looked impressive last game. The last 2 games, averaging 7 yards a carry and then almost 4 yards in the carry in the last one. It was a really good Chiefs defense he went up against last time. And then we've already mentioned, I don't love this Falcons defense. But if I'm already taking Bo Nix, I don't know if I'm going to be investing in a stimmy when I want Bo Nix to run the ball himself and throw it to Courtland Sutton. And then there's 3 or 4 running backs that I really like that are a little bit more on the higher price point. But because I'm paying down for quarterback, paying down for my tight ends this week, I think I can go up and get these guys. Christian McCaffrey is the obvious choice that everyone's going to be talking about. It's a Seattle defense that was supposed to be really good coming into the season with head coach Mike McDonald, and they just haven't really performed that way. 26th against the run. We saw what James Cook did against them a few weeks ago. And then obviously against the pass, which Christian McCaffrey can do out of the backfield. The problem to me is that the snap share might not be there. But if he's still getting 7 targets and 10 handoffs, we're probably looking at another 20-point game for him. If you can get me 16 points without getting into the end zone, I'm confident you're going to get into the end zone against the Seahawks. Give me a 24-point game for Christian McCaffrey. Kyren Williams, I think, will be a sneaky play. A lot of people are going to invest into this one, paying down from Christian McCaffrey. This is probably the next best option for you. Again, it's a defense that ranks 23rd against the run in the New England Patriots. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. The Patriots defense is pretty good, but I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I don't know how many touchdowns Kyren Williams is going to be getting in this one. I personally want to pay down for Jahmyr Gibbs at $7,300 going up against the Detroit Lions. Very consistently getting at least 12 points as a floor, and I do like to see that because I'm paying $7,000 for him. If his floor is 2x, there's a high likelihood that I hit 21 points and get 3x. In a game that I thoroughly expect them to beat down the Jaguars, I don't think they're going to keep it very close. Teams have been passing all over the Jaguars. Turn around, hand the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and please, the one time that I go Jahmyr Gibbs, don't let David Montgomery get the 2 touchdowns. Let Jahmyr have some love. And lastly, I really do think that I'm going to be in the minority on this play. It's Kareem Hunt going up against the Buffalo Bills. If you look at the matchup, that's a team that ranks 15th in the league in rushing yards allowed. So some people might say, hey, I don't really love Kareem Hunt in this matchup. It's a tough Bills defense to run against. But the Bills have allowed more passing touchdowns to running backs than any other team in the league with 5. I know they're getting Juju back, but as a guy who got 10 targets out of the backfield last week, I hope he doesn't go back down to 1. I'm hoping he gets 3 to 4 targets out of the backfield and he can keep up these 20-point games. Again, that's a very high floor of 13 points over the last 5. Zooming through the picks today, if you want to take a little bit more time or you want to throw your thoughts, put it down in the comments below. Let me know who your lock of the week is, or hop in the Discord. We got about 100 people over there that are enjoying content every single week from our very favorite Vegas plays, DFS plays, basketball, football, college basketball is getting started. We're talking about everything over there. We're not just a football stream, I promise. So scroll down, find the Discord link, and I hope to see you there. Wide receivers, I've talked about a couple of paydowns at the quarterback, a couple of paydowns at the running back position. So I think I might need to pay up for a wide receiver this week, but I could also pay down for this and go get 2 big dogs in the running back room. Again, Amon-Ra St. Brown going up against a bad Jacksonville Jaguars defense. That whole Detroit Lions offense, everyone's going to be big on this week. I do expect them to put up a lot of points. So Amon-Ra is kind of the obvious throw at you. Justin Jefferson should be in a good spot going up against Tennessee. It's a pretty good defensive back situation, but still looking pretty good. Cooper Kupp, I would prefer to have Puka Nacua in this one. Again, Puka Nacua with a ton of volume in the last game, 14 targets. Now you get this Patriots defense. I talked about earlier, I think it is a little bit lower scoring, but if he's still getting volume and 9 catches, that's 9 points right off the rip without even getting a single yard if he gets 9 catches. This little cluster of players right here, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, certainly going to be popular. If it's me, I'm leaning Pickens, then Flowers, then Adams, then Wilson. I would go in that order, and then Deebo Samuel's got to get some love with. I know he hasn't had a ton of volume in comparison to those other guys, but he's still a dynamic playmaker. In a game where the Seattle Seahawks are going to have to cover a ton of ground for CMC, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Deebo Samuel, we know they want to get CMC and Deebo Samuel involved first and foremost. Deebo Samuel could be a nice little turn, a pivot in that game, if you will. If you don't want to pay up for CMC, get your Deebo Samuel to fall into the end zone. Only 2 touchdowns on the year. He wasn't part of this game earlier in the season when these two met up, but I think Deebo Samuel has a very good game. By the way, just across the hall would be DK Metcalf at $6,500. I mentioned no Charvarius Ward in this game to cover DK Metcalf, who had 4 catches on 11 targets last time they played. I think 3 catches on 11 targets. So we certainly know Geno Smith wants to throw to DK Metcalf. That's his primary target. I think they need to stay and stick with the passing game in this one. Losing Ward with unfortunate circumstances is a huge miss for the 49ers. I think DK Metcalf is going to have a big game. A little bit cheaper. I know some people have talked about Khalil Shakir being their favorite target. For me, it's personally Mac Hollins. In a game with no Dalton Kincaid, Amari Cooper, or Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir is one of those guys who had a big game the last few games, actually. 22-point game, 11-point game, 11-point game. I do like Khalil Shakir. I also really like Mac Hollins, but more importantly, in the tight end position, I like Dawson Knox because the Kansas City Chiefs rank 32nd in fantasy points allowed to the tight end. By the way, the last wide receiver that we really like is going to be Courtland Sutton. If we're playing Bo Nix, I want to pair him with his wide receiver. So that would be, in this scenario, Courtland Sutton. Averaging 10 targets a game over the last 3, 21 points, 26 points, 19 points. Prior to that, a 0-point performance against New Orleans. And then that 15-point game against the LA Chargers, a very good LA Chargers defense. Give me him to run it up on a 24th ranked Atlanta Falcons defense. Don't forget, they're not the same player, but don't forget Marquez Valdez-Scantling just went for 109 on 3 catches and 2 tutties. I am a firm believer in the Jameis Winston revenge game narrative. I think he's going to come out and want to just absolutely sling it all over the field against New Orleans. I'm not saying it's going to be successful. I don't know if it's going to be one of 2 options, honestly. It's going to be 350 yards for 3 touchdowns and a win, or it's going to be 175 yards, 4 interceptions for Jameis Winston. There's no in between, in my opinion. It's a New Orleans Saints defense that's already pretty bad, and they're banged up. Over the last 3 games, Cedric Tillman has been the primary target with an 18, 28, and 19-point game. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. $5,300 is not high enough of a price tag for Cedi. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, it's really close when deciding between the two of them. Juwan Jennings probably the favorite when he is healthy. Ricky Pearsall getting healthier, getting more involved, but Juwan Jennings is probably the favorite in that one. I would have some interest. If I'm not playing Debo, I have some interest in playing one of those two, preferably Jennings over Pearsall with $300, $400 in savings. The last one I want to talk about is Mac Hollins. Again, I already talked about the Kansas City Chiefs being bad against tight ends. Mac Hollins kind of finds a hole all over the field, similar to how most tight ends play. They just navigate, sit in a little pocket, and wait for the ball to come their way. That's kind of how Josh Allen appears to be using Mac Hollins in my opinion. At $3,800, if we're getting 4 catches for 40 yards, which is about average over the last 2 games. I do want some exposure to this Kansas City Buffalo game, in a game where I think everyone's going to be on Kelsey or DeAndre Hopkins or Josh Allen. Let me have someone that's a little bit different. Mac Hollins is going to be that guy for me. Tight ends at the top, you know the story. Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, Brock Bowers, David Njoku. They're all good plays, but I'm a guy that wants to pay down for my tight end, and there's 2 guys in particular that I like. I've talked about Dawson Knox going up against this Kansas City Chiefs team. If you don't believe me, here it is. Opponents rank versus the position, 32nd in fantasy points allowed to Buffalo. Again, that's Dalton Kincaid, so Dawson Knox way down here, wherever he is in his price point. Let's see if we can find him. Don't worry, I'll get there eventually. Dawson Knox at $3,500. I think is a very, very good play, but also for $400 more expensive, you can also get Hunter Henry, who's been a volume hog going up against the LA Rams, who is not a great passing defense. They're in 24th in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, and he's, again, been getting a ton of targets over the past few games. Look for him and Austin Hooper to be major contributors in this Patriots passing attack. Oh, Nix, I pair him obviously with Cortland Sutton. We've talked about Jahmyr Gibbs being one of my favorite running back plays of the day. Cedric Tillman, basically an insta-lock for me with Jameis Winston in that revenge game against New Orleans. I think he's going to try and sling it all over the field. I expect Cedric Tillman to get a lot of looks and a lot of targets in that one. Ricky Pearsall, I could pay up to Juwan Jennings. I probably would pay up to Juwan Jennings. But I know a lot of people are big on Pearsall. Dawson Knox going up against Kansas City. On the flip side, Travis Kelsey going to be an absolute volume hog for Patrick Mahomes. In this one, we've seen what he's been doing over the last few games. I expect that to absolutely continue. I don't normally play 2 tight ends, but I will be this week because I think Dawson Knox is an incredible value. So left at the running back position, we could go get Bijan Robinson going up against Denver. Jonathan Taylor, now that Anthony Richardson is back, going up against that New York Jets rushing defense, which really isn't that good. Devon Achane going up against Las Vegas. It's a game that Miami should handle. Just turn around, hand the ball off, keep Tua healthy. Kenneth Walker against San Francisco. We know he can get involved. Kareem Hunt is still down here, so you can pay up at one of your wide receiver positions. Maybe you pay up from Ricky Pearsall and go with Kareem Hunt. There's a lot of options, but I think this is probably where I'm going to be starting my lineup. I appreciate you watching. If you made it this far in the video and you haven't already, I suggest you probably like the video and subscribe so you don't miss another one. I know we missed 2 weeks. We had some issues with the computer, but that's not here or there. I just want to say thank you for coming back as we try and take down the big guys. Again, they're putting in 150 lineups. I'm putting in 1, 2, or 3. It's the big dogs versus the little guy, and I want the little guy to win every single week. I'll say it one last time. Hop in the Discord down in the description below so you can join the rest of us in kind of talking about these things, or just post it in the comments right here on the YouTube video. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully the next time that I see you is in the green and next week letting me know that you won a lot of money.